Microphones, please. We're ready to go.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of Hamilton City Council, February 10th, 2021 at 6 o'clock. We're in City Council Chambers, 345 High Street in Hamilton. Roll call, please.
Pullman.
Present.
Fear.
Present.
Vaughn.
Present.
Ryan.
Here.
Nab.
Present.
Brown.
Yes.
Moeller.
Present. We'll have an offering of prayer at this time by Councilmember Susan Vaughn, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you are able.
Father, please continue to guide council and our city leadership team in all decisions we make on behalf of the residents of Hamilton. Protect and guide our law enforcement, first responders, and healthcare personnel who work tirelessly for our health and safety. I would also like to acknowledge a tremendous loss to our community this week with the passing of Maestro Paul Stanberry. He led the Butler Philharmonic for 25 years and will be greatly missed. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We now go to special presentations. This evening we have the first one, our usual one, is a coronavirus COVID-19 presentation update by Health Commissioner Kay Farrar. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, citizens of the city of Hamilton. I want to bring you up to date on some COVID numbers. We'll start out with current cases in Butler County. There are, we went blank, right? Oh, there we go. There are 33,750 cases. The city of Hamilton is at 4,946. I do want to point out that while you have probably watched the governor's remarks and the numbers over time, it's definitely come down, but we're still way above where we were in November. So it's not our time to let off the gas. It's extremely important that we all still do our due diligence to trying to prevent this pandemic from moving forward. Deaths within the city of Hamilton, 84. The county as a whole is at 254. If you look at cases by zip code, I'm sure you've seen this on the governor's talks. 45011 is the highest in Butler County because it's at 17.4%, and 45013 is at 13%. When you correct it by using a rate, because 45011 is the most populated zip code, then you look more like the highest zip codes in Butler County are 45056, which is Oxford, 45050, and 45067, which is Trenton. So I just want to point that out too. It's not, again, that we want to let our foot off the gas, but we always come up as the highest because of percentages, but we're also more populous because it's a denser population. Not seeming to work. There we go. So under vaccines, I want to reiterate to everyone how you go about registering because it's important. You can either go to the city's Facebook page and register. You can go to the city's website and register. There's basically a box there that says Hamilton Vaccination Survey, and you can click on it. Or if that is difficult for you, you can also call 785-7080, which is the main number to the health department. And then there is a specific line set up just for COVID questions and registration. So if you leave your name and number, someone will call you back. It is critical right now that all those citizens of Hamilton wishing to be vaccinated over the age of 65 begin registration. So one of those three ways, get on there so you're on our list. Once you are on our list, you can be assured you may not receive a call exactly right now, especially if you're in that 65 to 70-year-old age range because we're not there yet. We're going backwards by age and doing it our 80-year-olds and above first. But once you're registered, you're on the list and they will call you when it's your turn. We are currently vaccinating Tier 1B and are still finishing up second doses to a few of Tier 1A, which are healthcare providers. When it is your turn, someone will call and contact you. They will either send you forms via email, or we have a whole team that's helping people to do this by phone if that is a struggle for anybody. Certainly there are people out there helping, and there's a wonderful team working together for that. We are scheduling again according to age priorities, so we're doing the oldest first, and it is also a priority to get second doses in. So all of this is dependent upon the number of vaccine shots that I receive, and we're scheduling each week according to what I receive and getting them into arms as fast as possible. Don't just show up. It's really important to have a time. All these doses are accounted for each and every week, so you can't just come to the drive-thru and show up. It's all by appointment. We are scheduling the clinics as drive-thrus for a number of reasons. I've been asked that, but primarily for me, it's for the safety of all, especially with our elderly population. Right now, the weather dictates that it's easiest for them to be in a car. We don't want slips and falls. We've heard a lot of stories around the counties in the state where elderly people are falling after they get their vaccine. So I don't want that. I think it's still easiest. I realize it's freezing cold out there, and it is a challenge for all of us that are vaccinating, as well as for the people driving through. But if you bundle appropriately, wear a short sleeve shirt or a sleeveless shirt, bundle with a blanket while you're driving, have your coat in the car, so that in case something would happen to you en route that you need to be out, you're not exposed to the weather, but that is the easiest way to do it. We have given to date, it's not working, I guess. We've given about 2,440 vaccinations. We have completed the 2-dose series in some people. One of the biggest challenges continues to be that multi-dose vial. There are 10 doses in every vial. We're not going to waste a single drop. So we're trying and have it kind of down to a science. We have what we call a no waste list. And as we get down and open that last vial and use it for the people that were scheduled, if there's 5 doses left, we call people in to get those last 5 doses. Nothing's going to waste. We are currently vaccinating at the schools. On Wednesday, I did the parochial school, on Tuesday, I did the parochial schools. And those working in the educational services area for special needs. We did 219 teachers yesterday, which was a good turnout despite the fact that we had a snow day. So they did come in on their day off, on their snow day, and get vaccinated. We had 234, I think, signed up. So we were missing a few people, but most of them made it. We have a clinic set up tomorrow. It's a drive-through style. We have 500 scheduled. 73 are new people. The rest are all second doses. And then on Friday, we have the Hamilton City School District, and right now we have 911 scheduled, which is over 75% of their eligible employees because they have 1,200. So I'm very pleased with the number of people getting vaccinated. It's really critical. The third vaccine, Johnson & Johnson's, has applied for emergency use authorization. They applied on February 4th. It is not authorized as of yet. This is a one and done vaccine, so it's a one shot and you're completed. It has a 72% efficacy. It has shown in its studies that at 28 days post-vaccination, 85% effective against preventing severe disease from COVID. So again, we are not only about preventing disease, but we are about preventing death and adverse side effects. So I don't want to ever lose sight of that. It's just as good of a vaccine. It is appropriately going to be used and approved. I know it will go through. It should be available come the end of February, early March. I encourage one and all to get a vaccine. Don't get yourself caught up in being selective about which one you want. They're all good, and they're all going to help us move forward. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine has a little bit of a different approach to how it works. It basically is one of the older techniques. So they use a harmless adenovirus that the antigen sits on that adenovirus, is injected into the body. The adenovirus is a harmless one. It's not able to cause infection or illness in somebody, and it allows then the body to form a reaction and make antibodies against that spike protein that we're now all seeing what COVID looks like with the little red spikes. To refresh your mind on Pfizer and Moderna, those are messenger RNA type vaccines. And by the way, I want to throw one other thing is, the treatment for a lot of cancers use that same technology that we were talking about with Johnson & Johnson. So it's a technology that's been around for a long time, tried and true. Pfizer and Moderna are messenger RNA vaccines. Basically, it's something that was made in a lab. It's a partial piece of COVID. It is totally incapable of making anyone ill because it's a piece of it, so it can't make you have COVID. It is basically injected into the body, and it forces the body to make cells against the protein. As it's doing that, the actual messenger piece of it is destroyed. It disintegrates, so it is not left in your body, just like the adenovirus disintegrates after it's injected in. So in that way, they work somewhat the same way, but they are different types of vaccine. The mRNA technology is a new vaccine development, so it's different than the others were, but it's again still very effective. So what should our behavior look like after we're vaccinated? It's still critical to continue to cover your nose and mouth with a mask after being vaccinated. Keep washing your hands, avoid touching your face, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, and keep social distancing. Protection after the second vaccine of Pfizer and Moderna is about 95% efficacy after 7 to 14 days. However, we are having a virus out there that is learned how to make variants, and I'm sure we've all read about them. And so all of the other things have to be working with this. This is just, vaccination is one tool. It's not our way out. I fear that people will finish their vaccination. I've had both of mine. I've gone through my 7 to 14 days. I'm definitely covered, but I'm still covered. So it's critical that we continue to do all of it together so that we can together make this. My final thoughts: a virus that is not replicating cannot form variants. That means, again, we have to keep it from going person to person to person. And the ways to that end are masking, social distancing, and get a vaccine when your group is called. Those are my final thoughts. Any questions from anyone?
Any questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Please.
Okay, I was with a friend yesterday, and her parents, both in their 80s, had their first inoculation, I'll say, and then they're going back next week. They've been called and arranged appointments. And she asked me, and I couldn't answer the question, once you've received your vaccine and through the 2 stages, or then when Johnson & Johnson kicks in through the 1 vaccination,
Will we have to be repeats for vaccines every year or a
There's-
couple of years?
There's a possibility of that. And we never want to rule that out. And it's just because this virus is so new, they're continuing to do studies and follow it. The makers of Johnson & Johnson have come right out and said that they anticipate it will be an annual vaccination, just like the flu vaccine. I don't know the proper answer to that. I know that there's a lot of very smart people watching that very closely. And, you know, that is something that, you know, may or could happen. But, you know, we already get an annual flu shot.
Sure.
Maybe we'll get an annual COVID shot too. And just as a side remark, since H1N1, which was in 2009, every single flu shot since 2009 has contained H1N1 as one of the two A's. So a flu vaccine is quadrivalent. There's two A's and two B's. The A, one of the A's, has been H1N1 ever since 2009. So that's how they sneak it to us, and we're continuing to, you know, because that, again, was a novel virus. So our bodies hadn't been exposed to it. So we continue to get inoculated against it, and over time we hope that we'll stop the replication.
Good question. Any other questions? As usual, thank you so much for the education.
Thank you.
Our next presentation is Envision Partnerships Grant presented by Christina Lotta.
Okay, Christina, we stopped the share, so you should be able to share your screen with your presentation. So you may also be muted in case you're trying to talk. We can't hear anything on your end just yet.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I lost a little bit of internet there, so forgive me. I'm going to share my screen and wanted to say thank you so much to Council for allowing us this opportunity to share about the new resource that is coming to the community. I'll just start by introducing myself, and I've got a couple of people who will be joining us tonight, one person who can't be here. So I'm going to start off. So we are the Hamilton Prevention Partners Coalition. And so I love starting the meeting off talking about prevention. We sit within a prevention agency that serves all of Butler County called Envision Partnership. And we're very excited to share about, like I said, a resource that we received this year that's going straight to Hamilton. So Envision Partnership serves all of Butler County, and this grant is specific to Hamilton. I'm a resident of Hamilton. I live, work, play here, and I'm excited about that. This is a grant that is a job starter, so we were able to hire a couple of people. One of them, Astrid Gomez, is also born and raised in Hamilton. She couldn't be here tonight because she's part of the State of Reality series. So she is out there working in the community, but she is going to be our Youth Coalition Coordinator. Hannah Bertrand is going to be the Coalition Coordinator working with community members. And then Lexi Spurlock is a current Hamilton High School student. And I'm going to give her a few minutes in the middle of the presentation to speak as well. So very briefly, I just wanted to share that we're not a new coalition. So this Drug-Free Communities funding, there's a total of 10 years that's possible. The first 5 years started in 2013, did a lot of work through the Butler County Drug-Free Schools Consortium. And at the time, we were called the Greater Hamilton Coalition for a Healthy, Safe, and Drug-Free Community. In the last few years, the coalition made the decision that that's a bit of a mouthful, and there were a lot of other coalitions for healthy, safe, and drug-free communities in our county and in our state. So we decided to find something that would be more specific. In 2018, 2019, we created the Healthy Hamilton events, and those were really focused from a way to address the opiate epidemic using tested non-opioid pain management and pain prevention strategies, such as exercise, mindful meditation, acupuncture, massage therapy, physical therapy. And so those events brought the community in to be able to sample them in a free way, so it really reduces barriers. All were invited. And then we also partner with the Butler County Coalition to do regular surveys in the schools, grades 7 through 12. They're called the Pride Student Drug Use Surveys. And in the fall of 2019, those were done, and last spring, that information was released. As we just heard, 2020 has been an interesting year. So we still went ahead and we approached the drug-free communities folks, which are now housed within the CDC. And we knew that COVID-19 was going to be presenting a lot of new challenges for our community. So at the end of December, we found out we got this funding. It's for the next 5 years. With this grant alone, there's $125,000 per year for the next 5 years. And that comes along with a match that has to be state or local funds. So we're looking at $1.25 million to our community. So the goals of this are very simple. Increase community collaboration and to decrease youth substance use, and over time to decrease adult substance use. But I just want to say that this is even more than that. We believe prevention is our superpower. We're looking for, bigger and better. And I think that Hamilton is positioned to be the healthiest community in Butler County. Some of you have heard me say that before. And I want to say that I think this very much aligns with the goals of the city and city council, from businesses, small and large, and to make this the best community to come live, work, and play. So I took these images from the internet. I have to be honest there. But I know this image to the left very well. I'm also really involved with the rowing club, and that's actually the first thing that brought me to Hamilton, was a job with the rowing club. So I know this Slicer River really well, and I didn't know it in its heyday, but I certainly knew it when it looked like a bomb went off. What is amazing is to see what's happening now and what's coming. And I think this is going to be the community that people want to be in. And I think the timing of this grant fits really well with it. So just very briefly, what are the things we're focused on? We're focused on 3 specific substances. Again, focusing on youth first, really looking at youth ages 12 through 17. That's approximately 7th through 12th grade. And we've got some of this basic data, and then the real data is what I want Lexi to talk about, which is, what's happening on the ground, what's happening with youth. I was a teenager, it's been a while, and I've never been a teenager in Hamilton at this time. So data is one piece, working with our community partners like the health district, like the school district, with the police, law enforcement, et cetera. That's going to help us shape this picture, but really talking to people and understanding what life is like as a youth and what family life is like and what the community is like is going to help us really get to what's at the root cause of substance use amongst youth. So a couple of things to focus on here. Those colorful lines on the left side, blue is alcohol, that's on top. Alcohol has always been the most frequently used substance amongst youth, amongst adults, across the board. You can see that black line that starts in 2016, that's vaping. So we started asking the question in 2016 because that's when it really got into the hands of youth. And we could see that from 2016, 2018 to 2020, it now surpasses alcohol use. That's never been done before. So my goodness, we're focused on vaping. And just as an FYI, vaping is tricky because it can be used for both tobacco nicotine substances and also marijuana, THC derivatives. So it is tricky. The orange line is marijuana. We saw increases, big decrease. We're starting to see that come up again. And again, that's sort of tied in with that vaping piece. Green is cigarettes. And when you ask youth, primarily they'll say gross, cigarettes are nasty. I'll tell you, working with American Heart Association, American Lung Association, we were focused on the end of tobacco, but vaping has changed the game there. And then that purple is the prescription drugs, because we know that prescription substance use and misuse is what has led to the vast majority of opiate addiction. So on the right-hand side is just the evolution of vapes, and that's been interesting. So I talked about these areas of focus already. Just to be clear, as we talk about substance use and prevention, we're talking about youth. So we know that brains are affected by substances, and we stop being able to rely on the natural, let's say like dopamine that comes from exercise, or those other positive drugs that we get through things like hugs, which, goodness, we've all been missing in the last year. But those are very real natural ways of getting these same kinds of drug responses that substances provide. So as those brains are growing, we're trying to keep these substances away from them. So going back to the river, we use a public health approach. So looking at what's upstream, we know we have to take care of people in our community when they are dealing with substance abuse issues, just like we need to serve our community members who are dealing with homelessness or joblessness. But the more that we can do on the front end, moving upstream, figuring out what's at the root of it, how do we help this, the better. So that's really our space. So I want to take a quick pause and allow Lexi to jump in and share a little bit of her experience.
Hi, my name is Lexi Spurlock. I have lived in Hamilton my whole life. I've gone through Hamilton City Schools for all of my years in school, and I'm currently a senior at Hamilton High School. I really love the Hamilton community, and I really found myself getting extremely involved. I work at a local business, True West Coffee, and I have since my sophomore year in high school. At the school, I'm in student council, and this year I've had the privilege of being the student council president, and I'm also a part of our show choir at the high school, Rhapsody in Blue, and I have been all my years of high school. And I just really love to be involved in the community and just seeing the growth that has come over Hamilton since I've been able to actually appreciate that. And as Christina said, I really have been able to see firsthand how especially vaping usage has, and just substance abuse uses overall, have controlled the life of many of my peers. It was my sophomore year, I believe, when they really had to crack down on vaping, and we have to get searched when we enter the school, and vaping became a really big issue, and they had to talk to a lot of kids about it because it was happening everywhere around the school. In the parking lot, kids would go to the bathroom during class to vape, and it was just really sad seeing that all these kids felt like they had to turn to vaping because of maybe what was going on with their lives, or maybe they were just bored. And so having the opportunity to be a part of this coalition has been really special to me, because I know firsthand why many of my peers do this, and I'm just really excited to help these people try to figure out a solution so that not only is it helping the kids around me, but also like the future generations of Hamilton who will be able to grow up in a better environment and have better resources to not have to turn towards substance abuse.
Awesome. Lexi, thank you so much. We're really excited to have you. Okay, so, what's next? So here's a couple of images from the last few years. As you can see, this is not something that's starting from the ground up. We have been active and engaged. We also, there's some collaboration with other coalition work that's happening around the community. Some of it is housed at Envision Partnerships. One of these is the Tobacco Policy Coalition. And so, we may be here again sometime soon, engaging with council around policies that may affect, let's say, retailers and the proximity to schools, for instance. We're always happy to provide additional information, whether that's statistics, testimonials, or just general education about what is what does it look like in the city of Hamilton in terms of substance use? Are we making progress? And we're going to need you. We're going to need you, and I know many of you, and I'm so excited to continuously engage in this work with you. So with that, I'll open it up if there's any questions for me or certainly for Lexi. And again, thank you so much for your time.
Any questions at this time? Christine, I just want to congratulate you on getting the grant. It's going to be very impactful. I want to thank Lexi for being involved. Sounds like she's going to be either a doctor or a mayor, or something like that. But thank you, Lexi, very much. You're a leader at the school, no doubt. Thanks for assisting Hamilton residents. And a thank you to you, Christina, because I think you're on every board in the entire city. So any questions regarding this grant by council? Whatever we can do to help, we will help.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Now go to audience of citizens, and due to COVID-19 and social distancing, we are having a policy that those who wish to have an issue addressed by city council or city administration, email those questions or comments to the city clerk. That's city.clerk@hamilton-oh.gov. And the city clerk will read your comments into the record during the appropriate council meeting, and if there is time, we'll get an official city response read into the record, possibly the same particular meeting. But you must still provide your name and address for the record, and please be concise with your comments. Mr. City Clerk, has there been any emails that you have received since our last meeting?
I have not received any emails in a timely manner prior to this meeting, but I wanted to share with council that I received a phone call from a resident who lives on Elmont Avenue.
Okay.
She was concerned about 3 specific properties that are owned by the same contractor that have been overgrown with weeds for quite some time. And she was concerned about that and wanted to find out how the city can be involved with that. I informed her of our resident services department, as well as our 311 app, and how you can use that to report these properties, in which we will do a drive-by and assess that over time. So that is something that I'll have personally on my calendar to remind myself to check that, because they start in April during the year. But other than that, I have not received anything else.
Hey, thank you for being so responsive to our citizen. Jim Lonneman did sign the audience of citizens. Did you get a chance to talk to him about his concerns?
Yes, Mr. Lonneman made me aware of, I believe it's, there are some potholes and sewer ditches within the city, some that are nearby the subway in Hamilton, as well as various ones on High and Main Street. So I'm going to get in contact with Mr. Jim Williams, the Director of Public Works, and then get that sorted out with Mr. Lonneman.
I spoke with Jim, I think, yesterday. Thank you, Jim, for picking out things that we should take a look at. Your observations are important to us. So Thank you, Jim. Okay, it takes care of audience citizens. We now go to the consent agenda. That includes all staff reports and caucus reports. There will not be a committee of the whole this evening. We hopefully will be able to get back that on the agenda soon when appropriate. Looking at the caucus agenda, there are 7 items. Anybody on council wish to want to poll a particular item on that caucus agenda?
Mr. Mayor,
Vice Mayor Pullman?
I want to make a recommendation that we pull item number 7, which is a recommendation relative to application for a new liquor permit, to be pulled for a public vote, or for a roll call vote.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Pullman, second by Councilmember Ryan. Taking a voice vote on that. Is that correct? If we do a voice vote to pull it, or we have to do a roll call vote to pull it?
Yeah, we can do a voice vote to
Pull it.
but I do want to do a roll
Yes.
call
Okay.
for the actual recommendation.
So, all in favor that we pull item number 7 off the caucus agenda to be read and then voted on by roll call vote, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, that motion is carried. Let's take a look at number 7 right now, if that's okay, Mr. City Clerk.
That's correct, sir.
You want to read that into the record?
Absolutely. A recommendation relative to an application for a new liquor permit for Chicken Cone and Mike LLC DBA Chicken Cone located at 134 Riverfront Plaza, Hamilton, Ohio 45011.
Mr. Mayor,
Vice Mayor Pullman?
make a recommendation that motion be adopted.
Second.
There's just been a motion made that the recommendation be accepted, and a motion was made by Vice Mayor Pullman, seconded by Councilmember Fear. Roll call vote on that, please.
Pullman,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
I believe we had talked about Mr. Brown abstaining on that one because it happens to be, you're feeling, that's a relative of yours in the business or something like that, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we had talked about that being an abstention. Is that why you wanted this to be pulled,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Pullman?
Yes.
Okay. So the roll call vote at this point in time is 5 yeses and an abstention. Is that correct, Mr. City Clerk?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, I'm going to say yes so that we concur in that recommendation.
So that recommendation in motion's adopted 6-0.
Great. So we've got the other 6 items. I'm going to read them real quick into the record. There's a request involving a conditional use application for supportive housing facility, and a recommendation by Planning Commission was to deny that. There's one involving vacating a portion of North B Street Alley. There's another one involving changing the zoning within the German Village neighborhood. Our 2020 concrete repair and servicing program assessment role, purchasing 86 acres of land located near Towlersville Road, an application for a new liquor permit for Billy Yanks. So on those 6, is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Nab?
I move that with the exception of the items so noted, council receive the reports of the consent agenda and concur in the recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Nab, second by Councilmember Fear. So motion made and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, that motion is carried. We now go to pending legislation. Go to agenda item number 8, second reading of an ordinance involving renaming Marshall Avenue to Grand Boulevard.
An ordinance approving the renaming of Marshall Avenue to Grand Boulevard situated in the 6th Ward, North Side, City of Hamilton, Butler County, Ohio. City of Hamilton applicant, second reading.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Vaughn.
I move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Vaughn, second by Councilmember Ryan. Any discussion about this ordinance? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Pullman,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Ordinance adopted, 7-0.
Okay, we now go to new legislation, and number 9 is an emergency ordinance involving the purchase and sale agreement, 340 Main Street in Hamilton, and there'll be 2 readings on that one.
An emergency ordinance amending emergency ordinance number EOR 2021-1-4, Section 1, authorizing and directing the city manager to execute a purchase and sale agreement and related actions related to certain real property located at 340 Main Street, Hamilton, Ohio, 45013, Douglas A. Lakes owner, City of Hamilton applicant. That's the first reading.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Fear.
I move the rules be suspended and said ordinance be read a second time by its title.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Fear, second by Vice Mayor Pullman. Roll call vote on that motion, please.
Pullman,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Motion adopted, 7-0.
The second reading of the emergency ordinance, please.
An emergency ordinance amending emergency ordinance number EOR 2021-1-4, Section 1, authorizing and directing the city manager to execute a purchase and sale agreement and related actions related to certain real property located at 340 Main Street, Hamilton, Ohio 45013. Douglas A. Lakes, owner, City of Hamilton, applicant. Second reading.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Fear.
I move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Fear, seconded by Councilmember Brown. Any discussion about this particular emergency ordinance? Comment? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Pullman,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Ordinance adopted, 7-0.
We now go to agenda item number 10, which is a resolution involving the Safe Routes to School Grant Program. Specifically, looks like Van Hook Avenue, Hayes Avenue, Fairview. Hayes Avenue to Fairview Avenue.
A resolution authorizing, directing, and supporting the grant application to the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, Safe Routes to School Grant Program relative to Phase 2 of the installation of sidewalk, crosswalks, and curb ramps along east and west sides of Van Hook Avenue from Hayes Avenue to Fairview Avenue.
Mr. Mayor,
Vice Mayor Pullman.
make a motion that the resolution be adopted.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Pullman, second by Councilmember Ryan. Any questions or comments about this one? I think we've done pretty well with these grants and being good stewards of those monies. If there's no other comment or discussion, roll call vote, please.
Pullman,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Resolution adopted, 7-0.
We now go to agenda item number 11, resolution involving the Hamilton Community Authority.
A resolution determining that the consent to the expansion of the Hamilton Community Authority to include the Courtyard by Marriott complies with the requirements of Section 349.03 of the Ohio Revised Code to fix a date and place for a public hearing on such expansion.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Nab.
I move the resolution be adopted.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Nab, seconded by Councilmember Vaughn. Question or comments about this resolution? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Pullman,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Resolution adopted, 7-0.
Thank you. We now go to number 12 on the agenda, resolution objecting to the transfer of C1 and C2 liquor permits.
A resolution objecting to the transfer of C1 and C2 liquor permits to Astoria Sims, DBA Nor's Market at 733 South 2nd Street, first floor, Hamilton, Ohio 45011, from Nor's Market Incorporated, DBA Nor's Market, 733 South 2nd Street, first floor, Hamilton, Ohio 45011, and directing the city clerk to request a hearing to determine whether such liquor permit transfer request shall be denied.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Fear.
I move the resolution be adopted.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Fear, second by Councilmember Ryan. Discussion about this one? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please, sir.
Pullman,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Resolution adopted, 7-0.
Thank you. We now go to audience and city manager. City manager? Nothing? Audience of city council?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember
I'd like
Nab.
to take a moment. I had a handful of calls from residents in the community that wanted to thank our Public Works team, snow plows and salt, and people are taking care of the streets, and what a great job through this past few days of snow and continued resolution for our streets. So it's nice to have people call and recognize what a great job the team are doing. I think the new GPS system has worked for people to be able to track where the plows are in their community and that the streets are all being well taken care of. So again, it's nice to be able to recognize everything that's going on and taking place in our city.
Amen. Good one.
Tell you what, it's so great, almost every day I hear a thank you about something going on in this city. I mean, it's snow removal, it's the vaccine program, it's the investment that we see going on both sides of the river. So, yeah, they're doing a great job, and the entire city team's doing a great job. Thanks, Councilmember Knapp, for bringing that up. Anybody else on council want to say anything? I want to ask people to pray for folks who are battling COVID-19 and other diseases at this time. Pray for the family and pray for their caretakers. We're losing some people from COVID, I know, and all, and remember their family and the caretakers, and pray for strength for the individual battling. All right. Mr. State Manager, request to go into executive session.
Yes, Mayor, for 3 different items. The first is to consider confidential information related to the marketing plans or personal financial statements of an applicant for economic development assistance. The second is to consider the purchase of property for public purposes if premature disclosure of information would give an unfair competitive or bargaining advantage. And finally, to prepare for bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment.
Thank you. So let's take a look at the one involving the investment and economic development. Is there a motion that the executive session be found necessary to protect the interest of the applicant or the possible investment or expenditure of public funds to be made in connection with an economic development project?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Beer, second by Councilmember Ryan. Roll call vote to go into executive session for those economic development purposes.
Pullman,
Yes.
Beer,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Motion adopted, 7-0.
Motion to go into executive session for those 3 stated purposes.
So moved. Or second.
There's 3, you're right.
I think there's less who didn't make a motion than those who made a motion. Motion by Vice Mayor Pullman, and I'm going to say seconded by Councilmember Fear. Roll call vote to go into executive session for those,
Pullman,
all 3.
Pullman,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Brown, Moeller.
Yes.
Motion adopted, 7-0.
We're in executive session at 6:47. We will come out of executive session to only do the public business of adjourning that meeting, this meeting. Thank you, TV Hamilton.
It's like stereo.
We've got work to do here right now, too, don't we? We're going to be doing that upstairs. Is that correct?
Muted.
That's what he said.